Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu podcast. This is episode number 87. Today we're talking about the worst place to learn Jiu Jitsu. What's going on, Adam?
What's up, Kieren? This episode, worst place to learn Jiu Jitsu, Alliance, Sydney.
I was thinking the worst place to try and learn Jiu Jitsu podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're listening to this to try and learn Jiu Jitsu. Shit.
Yeah, bro. I'm not articulate at all. How am I going to teach you Jiu Jitsu through a podcast?
Well, on the flip side, on the next episode, we're talking about the best place to learn Jiu Jitsu. So the Gracie University is going to be introduced.
Yeah. So if people, some of our OG listeners, we did an episode, ages ago. I don't even remember what the episode was about, but I know that Gracie University came up in the episode. And people if you haven't listened to that episode, you might not know Kieren's passionate opinion about the whole thing.
Online blue belts.
But that's for next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to chat a little bit about, more specifically the worst place to learn jiu-jitsu, but more specifically, we're going to talk about the content consumption in the jiu-jitsu space, right? Because there's lots of different platforms where you can consume jiu-jitsu content, and some are good, some are bad, but it's also about understanding what you're wanting to, what you are consuming and why you're going to that particular platform. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, the pros and cons of each, because they each have they're not all terrible in their own right if you're approaching it with the right frame of reference. We're going to delve in.
Yeah. So, I mean, how much jiu-jitsu content would you say that you consume?
Probably more than the average jiu-jitsu player, but less than the extreme end, like the Anthonys of the world. Anthony's a blue belt at our gym, and he consumes a lot.
Yeah, man.
He obsesses.
I think, I mean, he's every other week he buys a new rash guard.
Yeah.
And then he's got every single instructional. I believe he bought the John Danaher instructional that was John Danaher instructional on how to make an instructional. He's always sending me, which I appreciate, Instagram messages of just I don't know, sometimes it'll be some wacky technique, or it'll be, a really awesome submission from a comp, or, news
I really appreciate it. He sends me some stuff.
There's been big story breaking in jiu-jitsu. He's just, man, hang on.
Because he's so on the ball, man. And then if he's messaging
hang on.
you.
I'm going to do a live test right now.
Oh, here we go.
This might bite me in the ass, but
a live text. I'm intrigued. What's going on?
Well, no, I'm just messaging him on Instagram, and I was just curious to see instantly seen. Instant scene. Instant. Man, he's just straight away
boom,
on
Insta.
Now I've got to answer this conversation.
All right, let's take a break. You talk to Anthony for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to the audience.
Yeah, but he's he consumes a lot of it.
Yeah. The type of person that's always sending you have you seen this? Check this out. Or you could ask him did you watch the 80cc trials in East trials? And he's like, yeah, man. And then he could list off all the top submissions. And
one of the previous ones he messaged me actually was
East Coast trials,
the European trials, that it was a Danaher blue and purple belt who won the trials.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy. But yeah, I think he sent me the same thing. But anyway, the point is of bringing him up is
I've got to write something.
He's still talking to Anthony. Focus.
Well,
Adam,
I know
focus.
I just did did the live test.
Okay,
anyway,
live test.
Live
succeeded.
test. Live test successful. I proved that Anthony has his finger on the pulse because he's on Instagram all the time.
Yeah. So I would say definitely I don't consume as much as Anthony, but I definitely appreciate him keeping me up to date. But I would say that I consume more than the average because I'm on YouTube a lot and just checking out what's on Instagram because I am a creator myself. So, I keep my finger on the pulse just in different avenues, a little bit of a slower market because YouTube's a little bit slower than Instagram. It's not straight away instant gratification. It's a little bit of a churn. So I'm always keeping up to date with what the big
especially
boys
if you don't have YouTube Premium. It's a hella churn, bro. Sometimes you get those back-to-back unskippable 15-second ads.
Mate,
God damn.
yeah. Don't
I'm
get an ad blocker.
still never getting premium.
If you have an ad blocker on YouTube, shame on you. That hurts my revenue.
I actually
Straight up
don't
does.
know how ad blockers work. Is it like, is it against YouTube's like terms and services, or like it's a program that runs on the back of your computer?
Oh, it's just a plug. It's super easy. It's a browser extension. So depending on what you have, if you have a Chromium, what's called a Chromium-based browser, so we're talking Brave, we're talking Chrome, obviously, and there's a few other like smaller, lesser known browsers. You just go to the Google Play Store, the Google browser extension page, download whatever extension you want. Ad blocker is there's heaps of them out there, but ad blocker, the name ad blocker is probably the most popular, and then it just blocks all your ads. And the problem with it is if you have Google Premium, when you watch a creator's YouTube video, they get paid for you watching it, as though you were watching the ads anyway. If you don't have an ad blocker and you watch some ads, the creator gets paid. But if you have an ad blocker and watch a video that has ads, the creator doesn't get paid for your view. And it does add up over time, so it does hurt the revenue. And I mean, man, I did some digging. This is actually a little bit too much of a rabbit hole maybe, but I did some digging on what the top YouTubers make in the jiu-jitsu space, and it's fuck all, man. Like the top guys like Jiu Jitsu, which a lot of our audience would be familiar with Jiu Jitsu because he's also got a podcast as well. To give you some context, he on YouTube, with his YouTube views alone, he would make no more than $70,000 a year of ad revenue. That may sound like a lot, but you have to remember this guy is the number one YouTuber in jiu-jitsu right now. He's the number one, the top guy, and he makes $70K.
Yeah, that's not a. I mean,
man, that's fucked.
When you're saying you're number one, it's not a lot of money,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And then imagine like someone like myself, full disclosure, I make way less than that. I make less than, I think I just at the end of the year I might just break 1,000, maybe. And there's a lot of like energy that goes into it. So moral of the story is there's like fuck all money to be made. I don't know how we got onto that. I was talking about like ad blocker, finger on the pulse. Yeah, so I'm on YouTube.
Don't have an ad blocker, right?
I'm on YouTube, bro.
So, but you're watching. Okay, so you're on whatever platform you're on. So, well, let's talk about the different ways you can consume jiu-jitsu first, right? Obviously, there's physically doing jiu-jitsu, right? Being in the gym, but then you've got like your online media, which would be YouTube and pretty much Instagram.
Yeah.
Right?
And then you have the online academies as well, the paid services.
Yes, and, as well as instructionals. So if you're on YouTube, right, what are you watching? Are you watching techniques? Are you watching fights? Are you,
a bit of both.
Highlight reels? What are you watching?
I love watching old school matches, or not even old school, just like, the finals, Pans finals.
Kieren's like, I love watching old school, like stuff from 2019.
Yeah, 2019, 2018, 100%. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, old school. No. Like, I like watching like the classic fights, and because I like to know when someone says, oh, yeah, because so this is kind of like, the Felipe Pena and Gordon Ryan fucking whatever year. And I'm like, and then, when you're talking in the gym, you're like, what? And you get that blank look in your face. Oh, yes, yeah, Felipe Penne? Isn't that a pasta?
No, I don't eat carbs.
Yeah. So I really like to, when someone mentions the big fights, like to know what they're talking about. Yeah. I don't know, even though if I don't, whatever, I'm rabbit holing again. So I watch matches and I watch instructional content. So I can go into who I watch, but you know what I'm going to say. I mostly just watch Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu. So
he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've heard good things.
He's very, very good.
Yeah, no, he comes up on I personally don't consume much, if any, online jiu-jitsu content really.
Only mine.
It's not, only yours. I don't think I'm the target audience necessarily. I'm also not a big like social media person anyway. So I don't really.
Well, technically you're a media influencer.
No, I don't want to be associated with the word influencer unless it's like got bad influence. I'm okay with that. Oh, that Adam, he's such a bad influence.
No, he's just a bad influencer.
Yeah, just a bad
influencer.
Yes.
Make zero money.
Yeah, that's good. So I don't really, if I consuming online content, it is usually if I'm specifically wanting to watch a match to kind of break it down or
Right.
look at some details, or if I'm watching. I don't watch a lot of instructionals, but if I'm wanting to pick up one particular set of moves or techniques or whatever, but I don't just sit there and spend time looking at whatever on YouTube jiu-jitsu related.
Just clicking whatever pops up.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I will go there specifically looking for something
Yep.
and find it.
Yeah.
So then when we look at what I think is the worst place to learn jiu-jitsu, don't get confused with consume jiu-jitsu content.
With learn.
The worst place to learn jiu-jitsu is without a doubt Instagram. It is by far the worst platform for jiu-jitsu knowledge because of the way that social media platform works and is designed. And you briefly touched over it before when you said YouTube's a bit of a slower grind and YouTube's very and Instagram's very quick and snappy. And that's what it is, right? And that's why it is a terrible place to learn jiu-jitsu, because Instagram, the platform is designed to be very quick, short bites of reels or photos or whatever. It's almost they're trying to stay current with the TikTok sort of things and stay modern with the way that social media is consumed. And so when you're making an Instagram reel, a jiu-jitsu related Instagram reel, right? First thing, if you post something on Instagram TV and it's like a 10-minute video or whatever, which you can do.
No one's going to watch it.
No one watches them. People don't open Instagram to watch a 10-minute or even a 3-minute video, right? People watch that length of content on YouTube.
Yep.
More than, you would know better than me because you're into all the analytics of it, but I would say probably the max cutoff on Instagram reels or videos would probably be max, I would think, is a minute. So I would
seconds.
say
Yep,
even
100%.
less, probably that sort of, 10 to 30 seconds is
Perfect.
probably your kind of golden window.
100%.
Right?
Spot on.
So firstly, you can't learn it. Like if you're from an instructor point of view, that is not a lot of time to get information across if I'm wanting to teach something, right? So that then leaves me with just being able to demonstrate it, right? Man, my Instagram or your Instagram is going to get F all clicks, likes, shares, comments if you show a cross collar choke from closed guard. No, right? If you show like even something a bit cooler, like a leg drag. No, man, it's got to be this flashy, fancy something.
Yep.
Okay. And can some of it be legitimate? For sure. But a lot of it is not, or a lot of it might be legitimate, but it's that sort of, oh yeah, that's cool. Works one in every 8 or 9,000 attempts, you'll land it, or there's that one dude in the world who can do that, right? But it's kind of, it's a great place to consume the content. You just need to understand how you're taking that in, because from an instructor's point of view, God, I hate it when students are like, I saw this on Instagram. And I'm like, I know I've mentioned that before, but, when someone says to me that they saw something on YouTube, just the way that content is consumed and the reason people go to that platform is different to the reason people go to Instagram. So when someone says they saw something on YouTube, right, and they want to ask my opinion on it, often the first thing I'll ask them is, what channel or who's it from, right? And if they say, Jordan teaches jiu-jitsu, or they say from the Atos page or from the Alliance headquarters page or from Kieren Online or whatever, or Marcelo or the Mendez brothers, these are all incredibly credible sources of jiu-jitsu information that I wouldn't even need to see the technique. Yeah, cool. You can show me what you're talking about as well, and we can delve into it more. But sometimes students will come to you just with I saw this thing, but I don't know if it's legit or just online fluff. And I go, oh, who's it from? Oh, Marcelo Garcia. Yeah, no, then I don't even need to see it to tell you it's legit, right? But yeah, you can show me and we'll go over it more. And also the way that the YouTube, content creators tend to operate, and again, the way that content is consumed, they're lengthier videos with more explanation, and so they don't need to sell that viewer in 10 seconds, which means they can do cross-collar chokes from closed guard and whatever. And
the slower videos, they're like mini instructionals almost.
Right. But then when someone comes to me and says, oh, I saw this on Instagram, what do you think? I'm like, man, the chances of it being, I don't want to say legitimate. Like, I mean, it may very well be legitimate, whatever gets the job done, right? Sometimes you look at shit that you go, that is the dumbest thing. It would never work. But I'm sure some dude tapped or swept or passed someone with it at some stage. And, at the end of the day, that's one of the things we love about jiu-jitsu. If it works, it works. But usually when someone says, oh, I saw this on Instagram, I'm like, oh, it's usually just the most abstract, random thing that looks really cool, right? And maybe feels really cool to do, but not necessarily very applicable. Like, yeah, this fucking flying Imanari roll. I'm like, yeah, bro, no, like when are you going to do that?
It makes sense when you think about who is creating the content on Instagram. Like, because the sport is so emerging and it's, increasing in popularity, social media is such an important part of today's world when it comes to creating a name for yourself. The more followers you get, the more opportunities you have for sponsorship deals, for things like super fights and all of these things surrounding how to make money, like we've spoken about in the past in jiu-jitsu. So it benefits these athletes to put content out there that they know might not necessarily work, but looks, like you were saying, looks flashy, looks cool, looks sexy, looks fucking like, oh, this is sick. But they're promoted, or they're encouraged, I should say, to put out this style of content. That's going to get them views, going to get them clicks. Yeah. But as you were saying, if you're trying to learn from that, it's negative. And what do you think about, by putting out this content, there obviously is going to reach a lot of eyeballs, a lot of new people in jiu-jitsu, and then they're going to try and emulate that, or they're going to expect, results from doing these flashy moves. Do you think that is beneficial? Or
do you mean to the individual who's going to look at it,
consuming? And jiu-jitsu as a whole.
I've never thought about that. I think it's kind of negligible, because a lot of the stuff that you see on those Instagram reels or whatever, it's so, so sort of left of center, the movements and techniques and whatever you see, or sometimes incredibly detailed, and so sometimes you see stuff. Hang on, let me sort of put it into two categories so I'm a bit clearer with what I'm trying to say. So sometimes you'll see something. Let's say, for example, I actually just this morning saw a reel from my man Levi Jones Leary, and it's like the content isn't there for you to learn from it. Well, you can learn from it, but it's not like an instructional reel. It's just him doing an incredibly complicated, like berimbolo, crucifix sort of Barado Plata sequence, okay?
Wow.
Which is stuff that Levi does. It's things he's known for. He's one of the best in the world at doing it. And it's just cool to see it performed. Like, watching him drill is pretty much what it is. It's just like, here's a 15-second video of, I've trained with Levi multiple times, drilled with him. That dude drills so much. It's essentially a snippet of what his life is actually like. That's a technique he'll drill for fucking hours and hours and hours. So that's really cool. You might look at it and go, man, like, I'm never going to be able to do that. Yeah, cool. It's not necessarily there for you to be able to do. It's just an insight into, a professional athlete's training, kind of. So those reels are really cool, right? But then it's the ones that are just that sort of like some random flashy submission or whatever. And they're the ones that I don't really have a lot of time for. They're the ones that the students bring to you and say like, oh man, what do you think of this? And I go, no, man, like that's just an it's like almost not real. It's just an entertainment. It's like entertainment wrapped up in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, like it looks fucking cool, but I don't see that ever happening or someone ever being able to execute it. And how that trickles down to then that consumer going and trying it, I think it's negligible because they'll get, 1% of the way through it and get smashed or something. So it's rare that you see it where then it results in them breaking someone's leg or something like that.
It's interesting when you pay attention to the Instagram algorithm, all these creators, I mean, some of them probably do it intentionally or it just sort of happens that they'll go through waves where all of a sudden everyone's showing the same technique, like a Terrico Plata that's like really popular. And like all these reels, all these creators in various times, but within like a couple week time span will just be spamming like the same techniques because they're trending, and then they'll move on to something else and then they'll move on to something else.
Yeah, right. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said at the start, I don't really consume a lot of that content, and I also don't. As our listeners probably know, if they visited the podcast Instagram page or my gym's Instagram page, the posts are rather sporadic because I'm not I don't love Instagram, and it's hard because you said at the beginning it's such a crucial part of a way to market yourself, and it really is. But oh God, do I hate it? But it made me think of, I don't know, man, and I think it's kind of a fine line, right? Because you can't deny how important it is to market yourself and sell yourself. But at the same time, if that line is crossed too much, there's a huge amount of credibility lost. So let's say, for example, I reckon you know who the Island Boys are, right?
Of course.
They suck. 2 drop kicks, bro. Like what a bunch of derricks.
Yeah.
And I reckon you could probably all of a sudden get, I don't know, could get a Who's Number One with Craig Jones fighting one of the Island Boys, and that would sell a fuckload of tickets because these are just like 2 losers on Instagram or whatever. But if that happened, so it's kind of like on the one hand, it's proving that you don't need jiu-jitsu at all to like be relevant in jiu-jitsu. You just need to be good at marketing, right? But then on the other hand, if that happened, you would look at it and go, what a fucking clown show, bro. Like, you would lose, Who's Number One would lose a huge amount of credibility, I think, for the real jiu-jitsu fans. So how do you walk that line between the sport and entertainment? And it is hard because they need to exist together, because without the entertainment factor, there's no money involved. Athletes don't get paid. So it's hard to balance all those things.
I have an opinion on this. I've thought about this sort of concept for a while, and I think the key is to be authentic to yourself. So long as you don't change who you are and you portray you as your authentic self, you can't really go wrong. Because if you're being yourself online, but still like, putting the effort in and trying different things and showing, different styles of content, delivering things different ways, et cetera, then, you're going to generate some form of following, particularly yourself, because of your skill set and your history and your lineage in jiu-jitsu. But so long as you be yourself, you're not going to end up like an Island Boy, because they're clearly putting on a facade. That's not who they really are.
Are they? I don't know, man.
They've got to be. They're not. That's not who they really are as people. Like they can't.
Dude, have you seen their faces?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be.
Maybe
you have to be. Case, you have to be down a few IQ points to.
Yeah, I totally agree with where you're coming from. But what I'm trying to say is maybe now they've like morphed into their personas, but when they started out, that was completely an act. A good example of this is, have you seen Liver King?
No.
Liver King is, I know a lot of our listeners probably are smiling now because they would have seen him. He's a guy on Instagram who pretty much sprung up overnight and just became almost instantly Instagram famous. He's got nearly 2 million Instagram followers now, and he only started posting like not too long ago, less than a year, I believe. And he's like this really roided up, massive jack dude that just advocates for eating organ meats. He's like,
right.
that's his name,
It's
Liver
health.
King.
Yeah.
So he eats raw like organ meats, and he's trying to say that he's got this whole primal thing, and he's like, you know, if you follow this lifestyle of eating these organ meats, you can look like me. You can be a primal. You can be authentic and like ancestral. And he's like he's juiced to the gills, mate. He's juiced to the gills. Like he's the biggest fucking juice head. But the thing is, I haven't validated this, but this is what I've seen is that his whole persona was actually socially engineered by a marketing team before he even started. So apparently,
Really?
yeah. So he's completely inauthentic. So apparently, and again, I'm putting this out there, but I haven't actually confirmed this, is his whole persona and everything is engineered towards selling a particular type of organ meat product, which is a supplement, right? So what has happened is a marketing team got together, found this guy, the Liver King guy, and
we'll pay you.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And then they just
be this
started
person.
hammering the marketing around his social media, and he's exploded. And what do you know? He's got a little product to sell all of his primal followers. So, and they would be making millions of dollars from selling the products.
So I'll give you an opposite example of that. Let me see if I can find him. So this is this guy who, I mean, I 100% agree with what you're saying. Like, be authentic.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and just to clarify,
popped up on my Instagram was like,
I don't think the Liver King is being authentic.
No.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. What's this guy's train?
Is this like a jiu-jitsu guy or?
No.
And I just want to remind the audience, this podcast is called Beyond Jiu-Jitsu.
No, if
it's jiu-jitsu and beyond.
Instagram train. Hang on. It's going to be worth it if I find it. Train watching.
We've just lost 50% of our listeners.
No, guys, stay with me.
This is worth it. You really want to hear this.
Is it this guy? Dude, this guy's the best, okay? Francis
Ngannou?
Bourgeois. I don't
French
know.
guy, got it.
Anyway, he's only got 100 posts, right? Yeah. So he hasn't been around for that long. Yep. 1.6 million followers.
Yeah.
And his videos are literally, this dude just loves trains. Like trains.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this guy. Yeah.
And he just like.
He's super viral. Yeah.
Dude, and he just. His voice is, and like
and he wears the GoPro on his face. I think most of the listeners would have seen him. He's massive on TikTok. He's huge on Instagram. He has the GoPro like pointed at his face while he watches these trains.
This guy. Dude, and he'll just like have a train, like if he's standing on a bridge and a train's driving past, he's like, here it comes. But he's just like, I don't know, man.
He's super authentic. Yeah.
At least he comes across 100% genuine.
Yep.
This is a guy who's just putting out in the world his love for trains.
Yeah.
And like this I love, man. And I would imagine it's why he has 1.6 million followers.
Most of them don't give a fuck about trains. They just like this guy.
They're just like, you know.
Yeah.
So
because what a lot of people like is when someone is genuinely enthusiastic about what they're teaching you.
Yeah.
You know, if they're like genuinely interested in what they're like talking about or showing you. And an example is I used to like watch these chess videos on YouTube, like over an hour long of these guys playing chess. But there's this one in particular, and he was so genuinely enthusiastic about chess that I didn't even like, at the time I wasn't really into chess. I just really liked this guy and how like his energy and enthusiasm was just so contagious.
Yeah.
It's the same as Francis, the train guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, you've just reminded me of another time, like when it's someone genuine and enthusiastic. Like I watched, I think it's, I can't remember the YouTube channel, massive YouTube channel. They often do like they do breakdowns of scenes from movies, not scenes, but hang on, Kung Fu breakdown.
Like
they'll do
martial art breakdowns.
So they'll do Insider. Sorry, Insider is the YouTube channel. So they'll do Or GQ Sports is another one. They do all ones similar, but the one I watched is Insider, and it's Wing Chun Master rates 8 Wing Chun fights in movies.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so they do heaps. They do like,
isn't that like Insider? Isn't that like a magazine or something?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
They've done one where, like, UFC fighter breaks down MMA fights from movies. How real is it? One they did like Casey Stoner, Australian MotoGP world champion, breaks down motorbike scenes from movies. How real are they? Blah, 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 blah. And this one, like, I don't really care for Kung Fu or whatever, but this guy, dude, just he's so enthusiastic about Wing Chun and the way he's talking about it and whatever. Like I watched the whole, how long was it? I don't know, like a 20-minute video of him like talking about Wing Chun scenes from movies. And I don't care about Wing Chun or the Wing Chun that's happening in these movies, but I was like super invested in this dude talking about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he seems so genuine and authentic and passionate.
Yeah.
So, I'll watch a train video, a Wing Chun video, a chess video.
Yeah. But the whole point of this whole rabbit hole and tangent was basically saying
Magic Mike's a loser.
Magic Mike.
Yeah, is that what they call him? The flow grappling dude who doesn't take his glasses off?
Yeah,
no, Hollywood Mike.
Yeah, Hollywood Mike.
See,
and that's an example of someone, in my opinion, who is inauthentic. I'm just saying.
I mean, for me, I've never met him, but at least for me, it comes across like the biggest fake show that he's just like a wank. And I think I've said this before when talking about Hollywood Mike. It looks like he's looked at Rob Dyrdek. Do you know who Rob Dyrdek is?
No.
Rob Dyrdek is a professional skateboarder. Ex-professional, as in like he would be retired now. He's not old enough to compete. But he also, I'm not sure, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he essentially like ran MTV for a huge portion of time as well. He's the main guy behind Street League, which is kind of one of the best platforms for skateboarding competitions. Anyway, Rob Dyrdek is like Hollywood Mike, but genuine. Like he's a homie skater dude, like but white as and just like like nothing fake about him. Like you're like, that's Rob Dyrdek. Like that's just him.
Yeah.
But Hollywood Mike, at least for me, comes across like he's looked at Rob Dyrdek and been like, yeah, I'm gonna pretend that I'm Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's like a wank, bro.
So I think the whole point is with this, the whole like, social media, fucking worst place to learn, Instagram, jiu-jitsu. I think the reason that Instagram can be a very poor place to learn is, like we said, with the whole algorithm thing, but also I think these athletes are just, some of them are being a little bit inauthentic just to try and get that clout, just get those views, just to rack up their follower count to promote themselves and to attract opportunity and advertisements and whatever else. But I think that if they all were very authentic to not only themselves but also their jiu-jitsu, it would be more educational content, like actual quality content, and I think that they would grow anyway, or maybe even faster. I don't know. It's coming from someone that's not a social media influencer.
And for me, who's a bad influencer, right?
Yeah.
I think the more important point that I would want to get across is, as long as you understand the content that you're consuming, I don't care. Spend hours on Instagram watching jiu-jitsu stuff, but understand it is just a clickbaity, that looks cool platform. Like it's really not a place to learn jiu-jitsu. Sit there, watch a bunch of reels, but they're going to be stuff that is, it needs to look cool. It's a visual platform that is designed to make you go, within 5-10 seconds.
I like that.
As in, so again, a cross collar choke's not going to do that. It's always going to be something. And if you're a newer person, like a white belt or whatever, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't do or learn super more advanced techniques, but 99% of it is going to be perhaps beyond your grasp, the stuff that people are showing. Again, a perfect example would be when you are watching stuff like what Levi posts or whatever. It is 100% legitimate jiu-jitsu, but it's like it's crazy, complicated, very difficult stuff to do, but he does it, right? But it's if you know what the content is that you're consuming, then it's all well and good. Just don't come to me saying you want to do this Instagram move that you saw.
The best place, in my opinion, the best way to learn jiu-jitsu, the best place to learn jiu-jitsu is honestly from your gym. And like, as silly as that sounds, like, and obvious, but the most jiu-jitsu I've ever learned
pay you that kickback later, Kieren.
No, legitimately. Like, I was thinking about, and the reason I'm like really stating the obvious here is I was thinking about this only this week, and I was literally thinking, because we spoke about it on the podcast before, how I was worried about, tunnel visioning myself and like getting rabbit holed because I'm only hitting the same like few sequences of moves that all fit together and whatever. But then I was reflecting on that further. I was thinking about, hang on a minute, I actually know a fucking lot of jiu-jitsu. And I was thinking I think my mind was triggered when you're showing a technique, and I was thinking to myself, oh right, I know how to do that because you've shown it before, and I learnt it, and I remember, and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm learning. It was like a light bulb. Oh, I'm learning jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but legitimately, sometimes it takes yourself to actually reflect on, hang on a minute, I know a fucking lot of jiu-jitsu. Where did I learn that? From you, from doing it, from drilling it, from being at the gym, and then I could probably flick through my notebook and find the day we did that and pick up some more points. So the point I'm trying to make is the best place to learn jiu-jitsu is actually from your gym. Take notes and study those notes. And then I would only say the second best place to add on to that is pick one really reputable instructional and slowly work your way through it. I've been working through one instructional for nearly 6 months, just watching it, rewatching it, going over, hang on a minute, I fucked this up. Now I'm getting stuck in this position when I never used to, or now people have learned this defense. Let me go back to the instructional.
And if you're finding it repetitive, then don't think about it as in, I need to sit there and watch it. Put it on while you're cooking dinner or whatever. Have it playing on the TV in the background or whatever. It can be a bit exhausting to sit through the same instructional over and over, but there's so much information just in one. But yeah, obviously I think it's pretty obvious the best place to learn jiu-jitsu is in the gym. I had some students a while back saying, I was giving them a hard time that they weren't training enough. And not as in, I don't mean I was just ragging on them saying they need to train more. I was essentially saying, you're not training enough to meet the goals that you want to hit, right? Like you're wanting to get to, from A to B, right? You are not doing what is required to get to B. You need to train more. They're like, but I'm watching this instruction. I'm doing heaps of study. And it's like, man, that's cool. That is secondary. Like it is cool. And they're like, yeah, but you can learn a lot from the theory side of it. And I'm like, man, for sure you can learn a lot from it. But at the end of the day, it is not a theoretical match of jiu-jitsu. It is a physical match of jiu-jitsu. It is not a theoretical sport, right? You are not going into an online game of match of jiu-jitsu where it is theory. Like it is physical, bro. So, you could be like, let's imagine if Stephen Hawking spent his whole life dedicated to jiu-jitsu theory, right? Like he would probably be a mastermind, but I bet you he loses every single jiu-jitsu match, right? Like, and it's he's not around to defend himself. But you get the point I make. It doesn't matter how much, like you could be a savant in jiu-jitsu, but like it's a physical sport. And not only is it a physical sport, so you need to physically be able to execute it and all the things that go along with the physiology of doing it, like muscle memory and all that. But some of the perhaps less obvious things like your timing and your intuition, your base.
And what you were talking about last night, like feeling your opponent's position without having to see it.
Yeah,
and
all those.
You're talking about leg pummeling in that example, but even that.
Yeah, all those sorts of things, it needs to be practically done. And the analogy, I don't think we've had one this episode.
I've got
40 minutes in.
Mate, we can have two.
The analogy that I gave was essentially something along the lines of, okay, let's say you're about to have open heart surgery and you've got two surgeons to choose from. One who's, hasn't spent a lot of time, hands-on experience performing heart surgeries, but has read the books a lot. And then you've got the surgeon who's done hundreds of open heart surgeries and spends most of his time practically practicing open heart surgeries and doing some reading, or the guy who spends most of his time reading and sometimes doing some practical? Which surgeon you're going to choose? For me, it's definitely the dude who has actually done a whole lot more open heart surgeries. And that was like, you know, of course you could see that it's like, yeah, but did all of these patients die? No, like we didn't go into that. You know, it was essentially just
what's their success rate?
Yeah, right. But it was just that
Yes.
sort of overarching analogy of me saying, like, would you prefer the person who has more hands-on experience when they're performing something that requires them to use their hands, or would you prefer the person who has only used those hands to flick the pages of the book, right? And that's when there was like, oh yeah, okay, I get what you're trying to say. You know, so obviously the best place to learn is in the gym.
Yep.
Because you've got to do it, man.
100%. 100%. And you'll be so surprised how much you will retain if you go in with that mindset of like really focusing on learning. And we've spoken in other podcasts, like, you know, a lot, if you just rock up and go through the motions, you know, it can sometimes go over your head or in one ear and out the other. But if you like are present, you write down your notes, you study,
bro.
be present.
Don't be like my students
Mindfulness.
who I'm teaching and I just look over and they're just like gazing out the window.
Yeah.
Although we do have big glass windows at the gym.
Yeah.
Some pretty cute dogs that walk past sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, yesterday, cutest puppy. I got super distracted. I was like, oh my God, look at that puppy. But, you know, you said just before when I was teaching and you were like, oh, hang on, I know this technique, blah, blah, blah. Man, not that long ago, I was giving a private to someone and they asked a question about a particular position or whatever. And, you know, and I answered the question, no problem. But after the fact, I kind of noticed myself thinking, fuck, man, I know way more about that than I realized I did, you know?
Yeah.
Sort of information that was there that I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily realize it was there.
Yeah.
But when I was prompted with the correct question, I was like, oh, holy shit, man, I actually know quite a lot about what he's asked and, you know, how to really, the sort of really minute details about it. I was like, oh, yeah, it's sort of like, dusted my own shoulders.
I'm a black belt. Excellent.
You had an analogy before.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I was just going to draw, you were giving the analogy about the heart surgeon and hands-on versus book experience. And then you mentioned that, you know, it's not an online thing. You're not going to log on and play jiu-jitsu theory. And that prompted me to think even something like chess, like jiu-jitsu is always compared to chess. It's like the chess with your body. But even with chess, you could know all the theory, but if you don't actually play the game, you're not going to be any good. Because
yeah, that's right.
Regardless, like
chess
different doesn't follow the theory.
Because different opponents make different moves.
Yeah, and like you actually need pattern recognition. You need to be able to go through and do 1,000 puzzles and 1,000 games to see the patterns and see the mating patterns and things like that. Yeah, you can learn all of the book moves, but very, very quickly a game of chess exits the book moves, and then what? You're fucked.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just the fact that it is physical, hands-on. Another very cut and dry example or analogy would be why trades, as in carpentry, chefs, electricians, all those sorts of professions, there's a reason that they're taught through apprenticeships. It's because of how valuable the hands-on part of the profession is. That's, you know, there's a reason why 90% of trades are taught like with the physical hands-on aspect of it and not the other way around where you spend 90% of your time in a classroom learning about food and culinary, you know, this and that before you even pick up a knife. No, because the physical aspect of it is so valuable. Jiu-jitsu is the same, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So in summary, Instagram is clickbaity. Be all up in that shit, but don't bring me those reels. Like, bro, unless like, going back to the start, we're talking about Anthony. Anthony's there a lot, but he's not there learning jiu-jitsu. Like he'll send me dumbass reels, but it's coming from a like entertainment point of
check
view.
this shit out.
Yeah, like bro, look at this.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll have a laugh.
That's totally cool.
Or sometimes it's something crazy whack, but the dude hit the submission in a competition and you're like,
wow.
You know, and you're like, man, fuck. But you know, it's also that, you know, when people say, you know, the example of, oh, well, Bill Gates didn't finish university. And it's like, yeah, but.
Are you Bill Gates? Bro?
Yeah, are you Bill Gates? You know who else didn't finish university? that dude over there.
The guy living under the bridge.
That guy licking the bus sign.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
Anyway,
That's a good place.
guys, thanks for listening to this episode. You know the drill. If you want to support us further, follow us on Instagram, beyondjiujitsu_podcast. Link is there for our Patreon. Also, link to submit audio questions for
audio
episode
questions.
90.
This is your last chance. When this episode airs, we'll be recording very soon.
Yes. So send them through.
Well, actually, when this airs, we will be recording the Q&A episode tomorrow. So you have 24 hours.
So for those
less.
people who listen to it as soon as the episode comes out, if you were 24 hours late, get to next
Well,
one.
it won't even be 20. It'll be like less than 12 hours, actually. Get into it.
Just submit it either way.
Yeah, submit it now.
Thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.